Well, welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we are diving back into the Boss Billionaire series by Z.L. Arkadie. Now, if you have not listened to the first two books in this series, those reviews are going to be down below in the description section, those links. Once you finish those, come and join us as we dive into book three, which is called Bliss. We start off from Jada's POV, and she is on her way to the hospital. She wants to go confront her mother. But we find out that while she was on the side of the road, bawling her eyes out, she got a call from her father. Now, he told her that the mom is trying to frame his son, Stefan Rothschild. Now, this is the first time we've gotten a name. So I'm like, okay, hopefully we'll get like some more information. So then I'm kind of like, why is she framing him for this? Like, what's really going on? So, according to Stefan, he says that yesterday the mom called him up to Santa Barbara. He apparently had been wanting to meet Jada, which is kind of weird to me that. So, you told him about that Jada existed, but then Jada doesn't know. I don't know. That's all just so wild to me. But anyway, he drives up and gets to the house. He says he gets like basically jumped, like beat up. He gets chloroformed. And then when he comes to, he's like, he's still at the house. So he still goes up, he rings the bell, the doorbell, but no one comes. So he drives back home. I want to say he might be in LA. I want to say that. So the cops come looking for him now because Patricia is saying that this is the guy that shot her. And I'm like, dang. So, of course, the father's like, she's so vicious. I can't talk to her anymore. I don't know who she is anymore. All this type of stuff. Then he asked her, you know, could you please, please talk to your mother, like get her to like basically call off the dogs when it comes to Stefan. Now, here is my thing with that. You got a lot of balls asking me to do something when I didn't even know this person existed, but they knew I existed. And now you want me to fix something. Like, what? Like, he needs to be doing everything he can to help his kid. Like, there should be no added pressure on the Jada. I'm sorry. Now, we know Jada's gonna go to the hospital, but she's doing that more so because she wants freaking answers. You know, she wants answers. I don't think she's gonna get them. You know, I think she has this illusion that she can get her mother to tell the truth, but she really can't. But that's her reason for going. I just didn't like the fact that the dad was adding pressure to her. Like, no, you need to talk to her. You need to have her stop this. She's gonna do it because she's a good person, right? This guy's clearly innocent. She knows that, so she's gonna do it. It just kind of irked me that the father was trying to push her to do it when it's like you spent all this time keeping this person away from me. It's just kind of wild. That's all. That's my little rant about that. Another thing that happened, that while she was on the phone with her father, Spencer was calling her and she didn't answer, but he texted her as well. And the text, of course, was saying like, don't go and confront your mother at the hospital. He was like, wait for me, let's do this together. And she's like, no, no, this is something I've got to do on my own. Again, I just don't feel like she's equipped to do this by herself. I think someone that at this point is willing to first of all, to set up a fake shooting or whatever, but to blame somebody innocent for it, to do all these type of things. This is a very sneaky, conniving type of person. You need a better plan, you know, than I've got a piece of, an envelope and I'm going to go up there. Like, come on. She needs more. But she's determined. to like go up there and try and get it. But I'm like, I don't have I don't have a lot of faith in the girl. I'm just being honest. She gets to the hospital. There's some press there, but they've been kind of secluded, away from, I don't know, maybe the doors or whatever. The hospital administration came in, kind of have them in a certain place. She goes up to the mom's room. The new bodyguard, his name's Hugh. He's on duty, and normally she asks the guys like, how are you doing? This time she didn't. The guy asked her how she was. She didn't really answer. She just said, "Hey Hugh." That's all she said. You know, and for her, it's like even the people that work for her mom, she kind of feels like I don't really, I can't trust them. You know what I mean? Because clearly, their loyalty is going to be to the mother. I mean, that's the employer. Let's just be real. So she goes in the room, and her mother's work staff is there. And she goes, "I thought you said everyone was home." And so the mother tells the people, like, leave the room. And, went ahead, they left. And the mother says, "I thought you went back to that old Blackstone boy." And Jada says, "How well did you know Randolph Blackstone?" And the mother goes, "What?" And she says, "You heard me. How well do you know him?" The mother, of course, is like, "That Blackstone boy is filling your head with all kind of lies, and so you're not answering the question." And she reminds that to her mother. She's like, "So you're not going to answer me? I want to know what was the relationship between you and Randolph Blackstone." The mother, of course, doesn't say anything. And then she, of course, says to her mom also, like, the boy's name is Stefan. Like, stop. So the mom is trying to kind of fish out what Jada might know. Okay? And it's wild because Jada's trying to, of course, make her mother confess to something. Right? And thankfully, Jacob's woken up a little bit. She realizes, like, her mother is just pure evil, right? She's not going to give anything. So then Jada says to her, "I know you were taking money, campaign money from him." So that's when the mother says, "Oh, those are lies, blah, blah, blah." And then Jada pulls out the envelope. And when the mother sees it, there's a slip of control that she sees leave her mother. And she knows, I got her. I got her. So the mom said something about, something, some bull crap. And she calls in the security, Hugh, and says, "Hugh, I need you to take that envelope from my daughter. I need you to make sure that she does not leave this hospital." So now Jada's thinking, if I make a run for it, I might be able to get away with it because she knows her mother doesn't like a scene. So she goes to run for it. Hugh gets her. She's tussling with Hugh. He eventually is able to get the damn envelope from her. And then our boy Spencer shows up. He fights Hugh. She's able to get the envelope back. And he's like, "Get out of here. Just run." Now, she don't want to leave him in here with these people, but he says, "I got this. Run." So she runs out. The mom calls for the nurse. A nurse is coming. And as they're while the nurse is coming, he's done. He's gotten the guy Hugh down. He done beat his ass. So he jumps up and he runs out to catch up to Jada. And so while he does that, the mother yells out the name Irina Petrov. And he steals. And that stillness is okay. Jada's now going, okay, who is this person? He clearly knows who this is, right? Based on his reaction. And, but they keep going. They just keep going. And I also forgot to mention when she was on her way driving back to the hospital, she did think about how Hope had always been trying to have her cut her mom off completely for her own benefit. You know, she's like, for you need to do it for yourself, because anytime you leave a door open with your mother, she finds a way to creep back in and take over your life. And clearly, Hope knew what she was talking about, because that clearly was about to happen. They're leaving out, and the a second nurse is coming, but they're able to get away. She, of course, tells him, I'm sorry, what my mother said to you. He, of course, is like, are you hurt? That's all I care about. And she's like, no, I'm okay, I'm okay. She did feel a little something, but she didn't want to say anything to him because, the way he was looking, he might have went back in there and took that man out. So it is what it is. So she had bit him also to get him off of her, Hugh. So she's like, only my teeth hurt. That's about it. So then when they're about to get outside, he's telling her, he's sending her to Connecticut. She's going to the airport. And she's like looking at him like, okay, she don't like this idea because now you're trying to separate me. You're trying to separate from me, and you're trying to demand that I do something. It's like she's trying to pull away from somebody who's already treated her that way her whole life, you know. So that's not going to work for her, right? But she can't do anything, say anything at this very moment to him. But she's just kind of looking like, what the hell? So then when they get outside, he was like, you should have waited for me, X, Y, and Z. She was like, I figured I could get her to confess. And he was just like, she's never going to confess. Patricia is never going to confess to these things. He's like, you didn't even need the envelope. I have more than enough proof to show the true nature between Randolph and Patricia. He's like, but if you had to talk to me, we could have done this together. So he's clearly been working, really hard all these years to uncover all these secrets. And I get on her end, it's like this person has lied to you your whole life. But the fact that they've lied to you your whole life, that's the thing for me that makes me feel like, why would they all of a sudden come clean? They've already established they just want to lie to you. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, that was just, I don't know. But I feel like that's part of her programming a little bit of, I know my mom so well, but you only know parts of her, or you only want to look at parts of her, and now you're having to see the whole person, and the whole person's pretty fucking horrible. Which you kind of had to know anyway if you keep trying to get away from her. You got to know that something's wrong with the broad. You know what I mean? There's more reporters that have, gathered outside. So he's like, you know what, change of plans. We're both going to the airport. So while they're in the vehicle, they have some back and forth. She tells him, she doesn't want to go to Connecticut. He's still doing the whole, you're going to Connecticut. She's like, no. She's like, you're not going to boss me around. We're not playing that game. And she's like, I don't want to leave you. He asked her, where did she get that proof that she found? And she says, like, no, me first. Who is Irina Petrov? He says, it's not of your concern. She's like, no, I just fought my mom. She's like, haven't I proven that I'm on your side? That you can trust me? He just says that she's someone who was associated with his father. She was also one of the bodies that were found. And he says that's all he knows as of right now. So she's like, okay, but I'm not going to Connecticut. And she kind of felt like he was pulling away from her because he wouldn't sit close to her. He, went and, kind of moved closer towards the door. And she's like, do you all of a sudden not love me anymore? He's like, I never said I didn't love you. She's like, but you're not near me. You're putting distance between us. I don't like that. He tells her, you'll like the house in Connecticut. It's safe. There's a pool. There's a theater. You can watch a movie. She's like, I haven't watched a movie since college, you know? And he's like, please don't make me be, she says to him, please don't make me be away from you. I want to be near you. So he agrees. They go in silence. She doesn't push anything anymore. She just wants to stay near him, and hopefully he'll realize she's completely on his side. They get to the airport, and he tells her, well, whomever, because they're going to take a private jet. But he goes and tells the woman at the counter, he's like, hey, here's the keys to her rental car. Have it back within the hour. Put all the charges on my account. And then Jada's like, oh, shoot, I need my luggage. And he's like, we'll get that before we leave. And then he tells her, go ahead, get on the plane. Now, this plane is even bigger than the one that they took at Christmas time from Wyoming to Santa Barbara. It's like double the size. So she gets on, absolutely gorgeous. There's a flight attendant, who looks around her age, beautiful woman. She, of course, super helpful. And then Spencer, still not on the plane, she starts thinking, oh, shoot, what if he tricked me to get on the plane and now he's going to just send me to Connecticut? So she turns on her phone and she was getting ready to call Spencer, but then she got a call from her dad. So her dad was like, what did you say to your mother? Because the police apologized to Stefan and they released him. And she's like, they have? And he's like, yeah. He's like, what did you say? Like, all this type of stuff. And she was just like, okay, that's good to know that he's out. So then the dad was saying, how difficult it's been with the mom. He doesn't know her anymore, all this type of stuff. And then Spencer gets on the plane, and now she feels like she can take a deep breath. Because she really thought dude was just going to just send her away on the plane. So then the father starts asking, are you with Spencer Blackstone? She says yes. He says, are you going back to New York tonight? This makes me feel a little something. It's like he's fishing for information, because he's like, where are you going? Like, he's trying, I mean, I understand wanting to know, but I don't know. I guess because he was in cahoots with the lie too for so long, I don't have a lot of trust for the dad, you know? But she doesn't tell him where they're going, because hell, she don't know at this point. And she just says, Dad, just know that everything's fine. I'm fine. And I'll call you later. So he also mentioned, I'm sorry, before they got off the phone, he did say he was glad that everything came out at Christmas. He just would have been happier if he was the one to tell it. But it's like, you were never going to tell it. You had all the opportunity in the world to tell this girl this stuff, and you never told her. So you had no intention of doing it. You know what I mean? So unless they give a little bit more backdrop as to why he didn't do it, he's still in my shit list too. He might be slightly better than the mother, but I'm just kind of like, Spencer did what you all should have done a long time ago. Here's the thing with this girl. She was so devoted. It's not like she was all of a sudden going to go, oh, I can't trust my parents anymore because they're divorcing. You might have had her even more so on your side. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, to me, that was a useless lie to be telling the girl. But I get it. It wasn't about her. The lie was for the mother and her constituents. I get that. I do get that. But still, it's just kind of like, they could have told her. She would have kept the secret. You know? Hell, I'm quite sure she keeps a ton of secrets dealing with that type of freaking parent. So, Spencer sits down, but he doesn't sit down next to her. He's being distant. This is bothering her, because it's like he wants to be far away from her. So the attendant comes back, tells them, what's going to be served for dinner shortly, blah, blah, blah. And Jada asked if there was a shower on the plane. And the woman was like, yes, right back through there. So then Spencer's like, you know, telling the attendant, you can go ahead and leave. And Jada's like, what's wrong with you? Why did you, what's going on? He winds up walking back with her because she's like, I'm going to take a shower because she was upset. And she kind of just wanted to wash away for what had happened that day. So he walks with her, and on the way back, he winds up kissing her, tells her how much a lot today has been, and he just needs to process it. Her thing is she wants to process it together. They kiss again, and then the pilot says they're going to take off, and they're going directly to Toronto. So then they go sit down, buckle up for the takeoff, and this made her happy because he sat closer to her, which means there was less distance now. So the food comes out, she's eating, it's divine. It's, of course, some world class chef that he's hired for like over 15 years. This guy, you know, apparently he's about to open up a new restaurant. I want to say in Napa Valley. So she tells him, like, I'm sorry, making all this noise while I'm eating because she's just really enjoying it. And so he's like, it's fine, Jada. I want you to enjoy, you know? So she doesn't have any internet phone service, but he does. And he told her, Hope, is happy she's okay. He, of course, got that message through Perry before they left. And she was like, oh, well, just let Perry know thank you. Let her know thank you. After she eats, she decides she wants to take a shower. She gets up, but before she leaves, she tells him, thank you for coming to rescue me today. I really appreciate it. She walks off. She doesn't wait for an answer. She just goes ahead and leaves because her head is spinning. He's hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. So she goes, takes a shower. She's got a lot of thoughts going through her head, about the mother. And she has these actual good memories of her mom. Her mom taught her trigonometry, calculus. She would give her good advice when it came to relationships. Like, there are moments where her mother really was awesome. And it's like she's got to reconcile that the woman that has pulled all these stunts is the same woman that gave her these really great memories. And that's going to be difficult. She has got the money, she's got money in her bank account, right? But she's thinking like Spencer's, how is this going to work? Because she doesn't know if she's really going to be staying with Spencer because he's still going hot and cold. So she's like, she's got this money, but then she's thinking like, oh shoot, my mom still has access to my bank account. And I'm like, your ass was supposed to take care of that in Wyoming, and you never did. So then it starts making her think, is she leaving doors open to keep contact with her mother? And I think she is. She's clearly doing it. I don't know if it's, it could be subconsciously she's doing it, but she's trying to keep a connection to the mom, you know? Because that's you know what I mean? That, because otherwise she would have changed that. She was in Wyoming for a full month. I think was it a full month or a couple months before she went and left for that Christmas trip that they went on. So she had time. She just chose not to. So she gets out of the shower, and voila, there is our boy Spencer. He dries off her whole body with a towel, takes her to the bedroom, sits her down on the bed, goes down, eats her cooch, makes her come over and over again, and then afterwards they have a nice hard fuck for her ecstasy. So she wakes up. He's not in bed, but he comes right out of the shower, and April, that's the name of the flight attendant, um, she's, mate says, 15 minutes to landing. He says, oh, that's more than enough time. So they have another quick fuck. Then afterwards, they talk, and he tells her about, basically that he wants to know kind of what all happened in that hospital room, right? And she's got some questions as well. She wanted to know if he knew about the association between her mother and his father. And he says he did. And he was like, when you applied, I first of all was shocked to see your name, right? I ran a background on you, and you were more than qualified, so that wasn't an issue. But being that she was your mother, it was like, okay, I think that was a point in hiring her as well. So he also tells her that, the job that you had, I want to say she was working for a guy named Todd Branson or something like that, or someone. And he tells her, like, they've got political ties. Your mother knows him. And he's like, you do know she got you that job, talking about the PR job. And she was like, I figured she kind of had something to do with it. You know what I mean? I kind of figured. So when whatever something went down, the Todd Branson guy, they were like, pretty much, she was let go. The mom was acting like she didn't know, but the truth was she did know. And if she thought about it, you knew she knew because she was watching the bank account. Because let's be honest, if she has access to your bank account, you really think this is her first time accessing it? No, she watched that girl have a negative 200 and something balance, and she didn't reach out to her. She didn't say shit because she wanted her to get to a place to where she'd have to come crawling back to her. And the fact that she saw this $14,000 get deposited was like, wait a minute, what the hell are you doing? How are you getting by and not asking me for anything? Right? So again, wanting to maintain control at any and all cost is what that mother has shown time and time again. He also told her, I guarantee you she, basically blackballed you from getting another job. He said that's why you were putting in and no one would hire you. I didn't know anything about it, right? And your mother didn't anticipate on you taking a job that was less than, being an assistant. She didn't expect that, so she didn't think she had to handle that sector. And that wouldn't have had an effect on me anyway because, he don't fuck with a mom like that. So it worked out that she thought outside of what her mother thought she would do. But that's fucked up. That you gonna sit there, and I'm kind of wondering if she made them fire her. To be honest with you, I guarantee you she probably had him fire her, trying to force her to come towards the political realm. So then she starts talking. She says to ask him, about him running. And of course, he's like, no, no, not doing that. And he asked her, like, you would, because she was like, she would represent him. You know what I mean? And he's like, you would really do that? You would go against your mother politically? And she said, absolutely. And he just kind of looked at her. And then the pilot says they're about to land. He's like, fuck it. So they wind up fucking again. So they get cleaned up, and she's cold, and he brings, she didn't bring clothes for this climate, okay? So she's got some sweaters and jeans and boots, so she does put those on, but and where they're going, she does need like a winter coat, things like that. So he winds up giving her his coat. And she's like, no, then you're going to be cold, you know? And he's like, I don't want you sick, you know? And she, of course, doesn't want him sick. So they're doing this back and forth. They get in the car, and she wants to know what they're doing. So he tells her we're going to the Browns Cafe for someone named Nadia, who is apparently Irina's sister. He's like, I'm not letting you come in because I don't know what we're walking into, right? So I don't know who all she's connected to. The fact that she's a sibling of someone who's on the most wanted list, like, I don't know who's protecting her. So Jada's like, she's not worried, blah, blah, blah. But he's like, no, I would feel better if you would just stay in the car. So then he asked her a question. He said, how long did you know your mother was crooked? And she answered it honestly. She said, honestly, I think my whole life. And it made her cry because that's what she had always not allowed herself to ever say, you know? She said, I would always, see, she's this political person, and I would see how people moved in politics, and I knew what she was doing was wrong. I knew it was. I knew there was a better way to do things, a correct way. And so he then asked her if she knew someone named Arthur Valentine, and it triggers a memory for her. Back when she was in college, she loved this artist named Claude Jean something child. So he was having a show at the Metropolitan, the MoMA, and her mom knew how much she loved that artist. So her mom got her invites. Now, normally she gets these invites a lot anyway, but she doesn't really, do anything with them. But this one, because she loved this artist, she's so happy to go. Well, she goes to the event. She winds up having to use the restroom. She goes into the men's restroom in error, and she pees, comes out of the stall, and Arthur Valentine is there. And he chokes her up, and he tells her that he can do all this different nasty shit to her, and no one would ever know. And then he tells her, give my message to your mother. And she had forgot about that. She basically buried that memory all those years ago. And so she tells her mother what happened, and her mother doesn't flinch. She just says, we're strong women. You'll never see his face again. Like, that's it. I'll take care of it. And she has never seen that man since then. Spencer is now boiling with rage. Arthur touched her, right? And it's like, once she said that, it was like, okay. Because I'm guessing he was wondering if this person had a tie to Arthur. So now that Arthur knows who she is, he was like, you know what? I'm going in. 5 minutes later, you come. If I don't come out, you come in. He gave her some Canadian cash. She tried to deny it at first. He's like, you can't use your card here. And she realized she need to stop with that ego bullshit. Just take the damn money. So he goes, and she's waiting. She's counting down 5 minutes, and then she's going in. We switch to Spencer's POV, and he is worried about having Jada here. He's a little off kilter because hearing that story about what Arthur Valentine said and almost did to her, it took away his nerves, right? He was nervous. It took that away, but he kind of feels like he needed that to have this conversation. Now he's off kilter, okay? So he goes in. There's a young girl at the register. She's all smiling at him and all this type of shit. And she's like, you can have a seat and I'll come and I'll take care of you. And then he asks if he can speak with Sarah. Because remember, she goes by Sarah now. So she's like, wait a minute, aren't you the guy from TV with the bones? And he's like, no, that's not me. He gives her some other name to go back and tell to Sarah. And so the girl leaves. She comes back, and it's been 5 minutes. So sure enough, Jada comes through, and all the guys in there are looking at her, and so she sits close to them. He's getting a little aggravated because it's like these men, they're giving her all this attention, but he also knows that she's not paying these guys any attention. So Nadia, aka Sarah, comes out, sees him, and she's like, "What do you want?" And he tells her what he wants, and she realizes he's not the name that he gave. The name that he gave her is not it. And she's like, "Why did you give a false name?" And he said, "Because I wanted to speak with you, you know, and blah, blah, blah." So she goes, "You're the one, the rich one with the bones, blah, blah, blah." He says, "You know my father's dead. I don't have any loyalty to him." He's like, "But I want to know, how do you know Arthur Valentine?" Whatever color the woman had in her face drains. But she does tell him to come with me. Nadia takes him back to her office. He gets down to business. He says, "Is your sister still alive?" She says, "No." He says, "Do you know what business your sister did for my father and Arthur Valentine?" And she says, "Do you know what she did for them?" And he says, "Yeah, she helped traffic young girls." And she slams her fist down and she says, "No, she didn't." She said, "My sister would not do that. My sister was forced to do things to survive, but she would never do that to someone, what was done to her." She says she was snatched from our home and all this type of stuff. So then he tells her, "Well, if you want to clear, if you want to clear her name from the FBI, they seem to have something different to think. They're thinking differently." He says, "If you tell me what you know, I'll do what I can to basically to fix the situation." So she writes on a piece of paper, on a notepad. She writes down an address in Phoenix, Arizona, as well as a code. And she says it's a storage unit that her sister had told her the last time she saw her. She's what did she say? She didn't have any real life left in her. She said, but she could still see love in her sister's eyes. And her sister told her, if you ever meet someone you can trust, give them this information. So that's what she's doing. So he, of course, says thank you, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, let me give you my number. But he dropped the pencil. She goes to pick it up, and he takes one of the erasers that he can tell has been chewed on so he can do a DNA test. He asked her about his mother, who was my mother, and she said she doesn't know. So he leaves after giving her the number. He does tell her, if you ever need anything, call me. He leaves out. Jada comes with him, and he, of course, plans on fucking her basically the whole trip in the sky. But I'm like, oh my gosh, what the hell are we about to find out in Phoenix? They're about to land in Phoenix shortly, and he had thoroughly fucked her, right? So the whole trip. So they have a little conversation, and he was telling her about what happened with Nadia, aka, well, Sarah, but it's really Nadia. Let's just say Nadia. Fuck the Sarah. It's Nadia. So she said, Jada was like, she's got a prosthetic leg. And he was like, what? What are you talking about? So she described how her mom used to put her in like all type of bullshit. But basically, she knows people with a prosthetic leg and she knows how they walk. And she's like, she's got that limp. He hadn't even noticed it. So then he tells her of Irina. The only thing they recovered was basically a leg, and a foot. So now he's thinking Nadia is Irina. But he also told her that he had taken the eraser, and he's gonna send it off. He called Nestor, and he's sending it for DNA testing to figure out if she's Irina or not. So she winds up telling him that she's on birth control. He's like, "Why didn't you tell me that before?" Because he had been using condoms. So she was like, Well, I had a little scared. Like her period was like late by 3 days, and it's normally never late. But that's because you've been fucking. So your body is gonna be a little different. So anyway, um, she went to her doctor. Her period came on the next day, but she decided to go ahead and get on it. So he was all happy, and he just couldn't wait to get his dick back inside of her. And so while they're fucking, he says, "Marry me." I'm like, well, damn, 0 to 1,000. So he comes super hard. She has this shocked look on her face, right? She didn't answer him. Plan lanes, they clean up and they go. Well, I'm sorry, before the plan lanes, they clean up and they go and sit in their seats while the plan lanes. So there's not a car waiting, and he's like pissed off and he's like going off, and he's sounding really entitled to her and a little bit out of control. And she's thinking he's just upset because he asked her to marry him and she didn't give an answer. But she remembers a conversation with her girlfriends where they had told her if a dude says he loves you while he's inside of you, it doesn't count. So she's thinking the same thing goes if a guy proposes to you while he's inside you. So anyway, they go to like this UPS type place to overnight the eraser to Nestor for the DNA testing. And she did feel good listening to him on the phone when he was telling Nestor about how um, she had picked up about the prosthetic leg, blah, blah, blah. And so when he comes out of the UPS place, there's like these two blonde women next to him, and they're looking at him with these goo goo eyes. And she's getting kind of upset, and she feels like he's doing this on purpose. But my thing is, girl, you already know people when they see him, they're like flock to him for a few reasons. He is good looking, and they also know he's filthy rich. Like, girl, he's not doing anything inappropriate. He can't stop them from walking out with him. Like, come on. She thinks, however, that he's doing this to punish her because she didn't answer him. And so this is also his way of letting her know he didn't mean it. Right? Like, clearly, I don't care about that because I'm with these two blonde women. Like, she done just, I'm an overthinker, okay? And even I was like, God damn, how did you get to that? So he gets in the car and he asked her something. I think he asked her what she wanted to eat or something. And she's just kind of like, yeah, she got this super attitude. He knows it. So he's like, what's wrong? And she unleashes. And she says all that bullshit. And he looks at her and he says, you didn't answer me. He said, you looked panicked when I asked you. I thought it'd be best I didn't bring it back up. I figured you bring it up if you really wanted to say yes or talk about it. Now she felt stupid. So then they have this whole conversation. He tells her straight up, you're the only person for me. That's why I asked you. I meant it. But I also saw panic across your face when I asked that question, you know? So I'm not going to push it with you. So then she starts talking about how, the whole that thriving, surviving thing. And she's been doing is basically surviving when it comes to dealing with her mother in her life. And she doesn't feel that way when she's with him. She starts crying. She's like, I do feel like I'm thriving with you. He's like, listen, you don't have to answer right now. I shouldn't have asked you in that moment. He was like, let me do it the right way. Let me ask you the proper way. And he said, please just allow me to do that. And she said, yes, okay. So then she initiates the kiss, which most of the time he initiates, but she initiates the kiss and he's getting hard and she's about to suck him off, but then they get to the destination. So she tells him, up, next time. They get to the storage unit and he, poor thing, got blue balls. He'll be all right. She's about, um, they get in front of the storage unit because she was about to take care of him again, but they're right now in front of the actual unit. He opens it up. It looks like a horror film. There's bloody chainsaws. There's all kind of shit in there. There's also a note with there's an envelope with his name on it. So he calls Nestor. Nestor says, call the police, get them down there. Then he opens the letter, he reads it, and he goes, we got him. We got him. Now, we don't know what the damn letter says, but it looks like they've gotten the proof that they need. So Spencer's going to wait and keep dealing with the authorities. He gives them the letter except for 2 pages. She doesn't know she doesn't know what's written on those letters. She trusts when he's ready to tell her, he will. He sends her to an estate in Scottsdale. She, of course, goes, estate's beautiful. There's maids there. They show her around. They, of course, do the whole, your and Mr. Blackstone's bedroom, all this type of stuff. And she does like the sound of that. So she's got all these thoughts about this type of lifestyle, right? She doesn't really like this type of lifestyle, you know? She's used to, on a Saturday, that's the cleanup day, grabbing lunch, grabbing breakfast from different little places. She lives like a college student. And that's the mode she's been in all this time. And if she's going to be able to thrive, she wonders if she can do it if she's got everything at her fingertips. So she does tell the maids to call her by her first name. And she does ask them their names and things like that. She just isn't comfortable with the certain level of opulence. And I can understand that. I really can. And to me, if she was going to be a jerk, it's just bringing out what's on the inside of her already. But I think she just doesn't want to even test it, right? Like, if it is inside of me, I don't even want to bring it out, you know? So she winds up taking her clothes off and going skinny dipping. And when the food arrives, she gets out and Spencer pops up and he's pretty much like, oh God, he looks tired. But when he sees her, it's always like pure hunger. As hungry as he looked, he is tired. They meet each other halfway and they just hold each other. He tells her how happy he is to have her there. And she, of course, knows she's very much in love with this man. She just wants to be there for him, help him through this, you know? And it's just sweet how unspoken they can give each other what they need sometimes. That's sweet. He literally said to her, I'm tired. Like, sometimes it gets just to be too much. And she says, I understand. And she just holds him. And that, well, they hold each other. And it even felt more intimate to her, them holding each other, you know? Even though it's intimate when they piping each other down, but it just really feels different. It's intimacy, and that's why. So they're eating in silence, and then he says that the letter, what he found out is that Nadia is Irina, and she had been instructed to destroy all of that evidence. She's got tapes, video, ledger, shipping, everything that she kept in there. And the letter said that if she could keep him safe, I'm sorry, I'm saying it so wrong. If he could keep her safe, then he could turn all of that stuff in. Which is why he took those last 2 pages, so that the FBI didn't just come straight after her. So it's a lot to process. I was thinking she was his mother, but I think I might be wrong on that. So they're talking, and we find out that Jasper and his wife Holly are coming up tomorrow, and they're going to be watching through the tapes and stuff and going through the evidence and all that type of stuff. And he told her, probably best for you to stay home. I don't know if you want to see that type of stuff, right? And she asked him, are you sure? Because she's like, I'll be there for you. He's like, no, it'll be okay. Jasper will be there, Holly. It'll be okay. Now she's freaking out because she's like, Holly's great journalist, and they're going to give Holly the exclusive on this story. And he makes a comment because, she kind of said, "Oh, really? She's still doing that?" And he says, just because she's married rich doesn't mean that, she can't live out her passion, you know? He's like, is that how you think it would be? That if we were together, you wouldn't be able to do your passion? And she says, yeah, but she's like, kinda, but PR was never my passion. It was something that her mom put her in, basically, kind of to help her. She said I was good at it, but I haven't found that thing that I loved. And he says, honestly, my dad forced business on me, but I found that I loved it. So it can start off as something someone gives to you, but if that's where your passion is, it can develop, that's possible. So she said that, she loved being that campaign work, the strategy. She loved that. She said, I love working for Jimmy. But then he was like, what? And she's like, no, 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 not for Jimmy, not him. She's like, I want to work for a candidate that I actually believe in. And so now we're back to that political thing. And he says, well, I can't run against Jimmy because I'm not a resident of Rhode Island. He tells her, I'm still a resident of California. Jasper's a resident of New York, Asher's a resident of Texas, and Bronwyn is Rhode Island. The dad, Randolph, was trying to make sure that they were residents in the powerful places. And he's like, honestly, I just never changed it because I just hadn't thought about it. So now I'm wondering if this is going to be a setup for him to go against that mom. Because remember, the mom is California. I'm wondering. But anyway, they kiss, and then after they kiss, oh boy yawns. She's never seen this man yawn. He's tired. Not just physically, he's emotionally tired too. So Spencer winds up falling asleep before her, which she doesn't remember that ever happening. She's still wired. So she thought about going for a swim, drawing a bath, but then she's like, nah, she just wants to stay there with him. So she figures out how to get the TV to come up, and she puts it on the news channel, and her mother's mugshot is on the screen. So she got arrested for accepting the illegal funds from America's adversaries, illegal campaign funds. And of course, she's out on bond. She says to the camera, basically, how did she say? She basically was spinning it, saying that, of course she's saying she's innocent, but she also said, frankly, major donors, they need to get out of politics, like all this type of stuff. And one of the representatives from Oregon, one of the correspondents, he made a comment. No, Texas. The Texas dude said that he believed she was guilty. He just said it flat out. And the Oregon woman said, if you lay bare the finances of the people in Congress, 90% of them are going to be dirty. It's dirty money. And so he wakes up. He's hard. They have a nice, quiet little lovemaking session. And then he drifts back off to sleep. She doesn't say anything about what she just saw on the television. They take separate showers. They have a Jack and Jill bathroom. She comes out. She's been very uninhibited. Think about her skinny dipping and stuff. She wasn't like that before. When they first started fucking, she would hide under the covers and stuff. But she's a lot different now, honey. So anyway, they started kissing. They're about to fuck, but then they hear Jasper yell down for them to come on for breakfast. So Jasper, of course, he's super serious, but he's gorgeous though. She says he's gorgeous, but and he's very striking, but it's in a different way than Spencer. Holly's got the baby in her lap, baby Jane, and the seriousness that Jasper has when he talks to her. Like, if you didn't know him, you think, okay, he's mean or something, but he's not. He's very serious looking. And, he tells her, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. But it all melts away when he looks at baby Jane. It's so sweet. And it even shocked Spencer because, again, remember, this is the first time Spencer has seen the child. So this is also his first time seeing this guy look like this, And it's kind of like, what? So they sit down and we find out Holly had run some DNA tests previously with all of them. And then we get the good news. Because at first Spencer had a little attitude about that, but he calmed down. So Holly takes the baby upstairs and they all get the email. Well, Spencer, Jasper, and Holly get the email. They had put it against the national database because originally they weren't in that. And so when Holly had done her DNA stuff, it then put them in it. And so the message comes back that they have found Spencer's mother and she is alive. So his mother's name is Charlotte Wright. She lives in Philadelphia, but she lives under the name Danielle Spencer, which is really kind of sweet. Clearly she chose that name to hold on to him some type of way. So that was really sweet. She's not resistant. Well, let me say it right. Hopefully, she won't be resistant to meeting him. If he does want to meet up with her. Jasper, he had met his family, his mother's family, and he had kind of told him about his experiences and how, just kind of go in with the attitude of, openness and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. So, Jasper, Holly, Spencer, they're on their way to the lab and they're going to watch those wild videos. They're trying to make sure they find everything, not to just throw Arthur Valentine into jail, but to keep him there. Because this dude has made very powerful allies. And so, you could get him in there, but something can happen to him and get him out. You know what I mean? Someone power up, high up could get him out. She felt some type of way about being left behind, but then she also thought from the perspective of, what? This is something that they started long before she was ever there. So it is what it is. However, she does feel very small compared to Holly. Holly hasn't, Holly's still who she is. Like, she's married to this powerful dude, but she still loves her career and still is able to be active in her career, And here she is, can't even figure out what she really wants to do. So there, she does feel a little less than, And it also, I think, they're a team. Jasper and Holly are a team. They're in sync. And I think a lot of times she doesn't feel in sync with Spencer. So that also makes her feel some type of way. Then we have to remember that Bronwyn had made that statement, oh, you went and got yourself a Holly. So that inadequacy she would feel from like she's a lesser than Holly. You know what I mean? So I get it of why she's feeling some type of way. A lot of stuff has kind of been set up to kind of make her feel that way. I get it. So she goes outside and she calls Hope. Hope is like, I am so pissed off at you. Like, she gotten so many texts like that it stopped giving her text messages. The phone log is insane. She likes to put her phone on airplane mode even when she's not on an airplane. It's super wild. But it's an avoidance that she does not to have to talk to her mom, So anyway, they're talking. So whereas she thought they were going to elope because that was the plan, Hope now tells her that, well, first she tells Hope everything, right? But then Hope tells her that they are now getting married the weekend after next in Hawaii at the Kona Resort. And she's like, wait a minute, what happened to the whole eloping? And she says, well, Perry's mother found out about the eloping and was like, nope, and basically took over wedding. So she tells me all I have to do is show up. But even though the bridesmaids are Perry's, his cousins and stuff, she told the woman, my maid of honor, that's mine. That's going to be Jada. So Jada, of course, asked her, are you sure you want to do this? Because you're being very blasé about this. And this is not you. Like, when did you allow somebody to come and take over you? You know? She's like, you've got your own Patricia now. And she's talking to Hope. And Hope's kind of like, you know what? You're right. I am being different, you know? So she's clearly going to process that out later. So Jada felt comfortable enough to let her know about... Oh, I forgot to mention this too. She did not tell about the evidence that they found. She didn't tell all of that stuff. She just more so told the stuff about her. Which I like, you know, because that's kind of his whole spiel. Like, I'm cool with that. So anyway, she tells her how she feels about Holly. And Hope's like, you're comparing yourself. Don't do that. You're perfect. You're better than perfect, you know? And she says, you know, is it about life? Is it the career? She's like, I think it's about the career, you know? And Hope says, all I know is that every time I would come to your place, you would have those political shows on. And the way that you could break it down to anybody to where you could understand it, you understand that world in and out. You understand politics. She's like, I think you've been running away from it because you didn't want anything to do or to be compared or be like your mom. But you understand politics. You thrive in it. So I think you know what your passion is. It's just a matter of what you're going to do with the passion. And I'm like, this is why I like Hope. Hope keeps it really gully with her. She really does. She doesn't lie to her. She is very upfront. And I appreciate it because this girl needs it. So after that conversation, she winds up asking her, I remember you girls telling me that like you all had to fake, you know, orgasms during sex a lot. She's like, because you all didn't really get it through penetration unless a dude, you know, you really only came when a dude was going down on you. So she's like, but I don't have that problem. She's like, I come all the time with Spencer inside of me. And Hope says, don't you ever tell another woman that. Don't you ever tell anybody that. You have a golden, a magical gift that don't say nothing to nobody about. Okay? And so they say their goodbyes. And she says, and take your phone off of airplane mode unless you're on an airplane. So she's got some messages from her mother. She blocks her mother's number, which she's done this before. But then she gets a call from Jimmy Lovell. And she's like, oh my gosh. For whatever reason, she answers the damn phone. And she, of course, is like, what are you calling me for? He is doing, you know, why are you being mean to me? She's like, I don't even have anything to do with my mom, so there's nothing I can do for you. He's like, no, I need to talk to you. It's about your mother. But she again says, I don't have anything to do with my mother, so that doesn't matter. And she says about she's in Phoenix or something. And he goes, you're there with Blackstone? And she's like, yeah. And she goes, but you know his name is Spencer. And he goes, so that's what you do? You just spread your legs for him and travel around with him? Just like all this type of crap. And she's like, that's not how it is with him. But that's none of your business anyway. But I'm like, why did you even say that you were in Phoenix? Why did you tell him where the fuck you were? The fact that you just blocked your mom and then you get a call from him. I'm just saying, you know, that was kind of stupid. But again, I think it's that keeping a link. She does it whether she knows it or not, whether it's subconscious or not. She has to keep some type of link to that damn mom. So anyway, she hears him say to somebody, Phoenix Blackstone. So clearly he's telling somebody. And he's like, okay, got it. And he hangs up. So she tries to call back. He doesn't answer. It's going to voicemail. And she's hoping he doesn't show up. But I'm like, that's either he's going to show up or that mom's going to show up. Because now they know where you are. And that's going to be her fault. Because her dumb ass shouldn't have told him where she was. But anyway, she winds up, the nanny's name is September. And baby Jane and her at the pool. There's a couple pools, I guess, there. But this pool is warmed up. And so they were like, could they join her? And she, sure enough, goes in there and she has a ball playing with that baby with the toy. She has a great time. We switched to Spencer's POV. They're looking at the tapes, and it's a lot watching these. Like, little girls it's a lot. The FBI agent Martinez, he and Holly have a little banter back and forth, which makes Jasper a little jealous. And Spencer thinks the same thing. Hell, if it was Jada here, with banter with somebody, he'd feel the same way. They've picked up Valentine, so he's in jail. And they've been calling people, letting them know the ones that he's close with that could get him out, letting him know, hey, you leave him in there or else, basically. They want to make sure that man rots in prison. No favors. So then the FBI agent says about, when he asks, well, what about, Arena? And he says that's part 2 of the plan. And he's like, what does that mean? Like, are you going to go after her? Like, what the hell? Like, what does it mean? So the FBI agent Martinez takes Spencer to this room, and there's a woman sitting there. And it's a female police officer. And Martinez leaves. And he had asked Martinez, what's going on. But Martinez just says, wait and see. And he don't know if that's a good thing or not, right? Is this a trap? Like, what is it? So anyway, he goes in. And the woman says, she's looking at him real, like, strong, like this pensive look. And he asked her, is Arena okay? And he's like, and the woman says, Arena's fine. And she says there's a reason the evidence was here in Phoenix. It's because I'm here. And she says, let me tell you a story about a 12-year-old girl. This girl had a mom that had always needed a man in her bed. Didn't matter what the man did. He could beat her, whatever. The mom beat her. The mom had to have a man in bed. So one time this boyfriend the mother had, beat the mom and the daughter so bad that they went to the police. And the policeman, the guy's name was Sam Schwartz, and he showed them real kindness, and he threatened that guy. And the guy eventually, he left the mother. Well, the mother went and got another guy, but this guy liked little girls. And so he started abusing the 12-year-old. The mother went on to marry this man. And one night she came in and saw her husband abusing her daughter, and this woman threw out her daughter. So again, you have women like this, just absolute despicable. The only thing that matters is having a man there or a partner there. That's it. Like, everything else can go away. So she was put out of her home at 12. She's homeless. She's sleeping in alleyways. She's eating out of trash cans. And then one day she meets a girl in the streets, same age as her, that says, I can take you to a place where you can have a, warm bed, hot meals, X, Y, and Z. So the girl goes with her. They have someone at the house whose name is Mother. She tells her it's a very loving home and all this type of stuff. But then she starts getting drugged through her food and drink. So at night, some hooded guy would come in and rape her. And then in, morning, she didn't know if it happened or not because she'd been drugged. But eventually her stomach started growing because she's now pregnant. They then take her to a bigger house on a ranch, and he realizes this woman is talking about herself. She was the 12-year-old girl. And I'm going, so this has got to be his mother. She continues the story. She says at the ranch, she witnessed all kind of horrible things. Horrible shit went on at that ranch. She says, I gave birth to you at a hospital. You came early. And I was like, I knew it. This is his mom. She says she lost a lot of blood. They took her, she's at the hospital. And they decided that she had decided she was going to get her baby and she was going to leave. But when she went to the nursery, the baby was already gone. And it did give him some relief that even though he was conceived in the most fucked up, it's fucked up shit, she was going to keep him and she was going to make a life for her and that child at like 13 years old. That's insane. So he asked her what her name was and she said it's Charlotte Wright, but I go by Daniel Spencer. And she does this thing with her lips and he says, I do the same thing. And it's very emotional. She, of course, was like, I wanted those men to pay for all that they did, but they had everybody in their pocket. They had police departments, judges. She said even some presidents during certain terms, So at that moment, he, of course, knows in spite of how awful it is, he's glad he's a Blackstone because now he can really take down these people, not only for her, but for all of those girls that were hurt. She continues the story. So we find out what happened when Arthur found out that Irina was keeping proof of all of this sick shit that was going on. So Charlotte, I don't know, should I call her Charlotte or whatever? We'll call her Charlotte. We'll call her by her birth name. So when Charlotte had Spencer, she was brought back to that ranch in Wyoming. And at first, it was kind of like Irina was still in that mode of, she wasn't necessarily an enforcer, but, get the girls. She was still kind of in that mode. She hated it, but she was still in that mode. But Charlotte was able to talk her into like, we can really get out of here, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. Again, 13-year-old, they're young. I don't know how old Irina was. I'm thinking she's about the same age because the girl had said she met someone her same age. So I'm thinking they're close in age. Anyway, so they decided they were going to escape. Okay? And when they got back to the house, there's a guy there named Gordon. Now, Gordon is a mute, and he's the punisher of the girls. So if they get out of line, do anything wrong, he punishes them. Well, now they see that he's actually offing all of them. An order came down for him to off all the girls because they technically, based on their little sick thing, the way they worked, they didn't want them to survive into adulthood, right? So he done offed all the girls, and Irina told Charlotte, you go get the van and come back and come and get me. Well, she goes and she gets the van eventually. And then when she gets back, she hears this wail. And she's thinking that, Irina's being, killed, but she's not. The dude was killing all the girls with chainsaws. Okay? He had chopped off her leg with the chainsaw. So Charlotte took something and she like went at his head so hard she decapitated him. 13 and she did this. So Irina told her bury his body far away from the property. So she took that van and she took his body, buried it far away. The only person she could remember the name of was Sam Schwartz, the police officer from Rhode Island who had been kind to her when her mother's boyfriend had been beating both of them up. It was either Rhode Island or Maine where I can't remember right now. But anyway, so she gets in contact with him, and that's where she's been all this time. Up until like as she got older and she decided, you know, she wanted to become a police officer. But yeah, him and his wife took her in, and she tells Spencer, I'm so glad you turned out to be the man that you are. And it was like really sweet to read it. Very emotional scene to read. And it's a lot of emotions on both sides. And she told him she wanted to see him again if he was up to that. And, he said absolutely. That, of course, made her happy. And, yeah. And he called her mother. And even though it was weird, it strangely felt right. He had never called anybody mother. Because remember, the other lady he knew wasn't his mother, so he never called her that, basically. So yeah, I thought that was wild. Like, what that woman went through. Like, but she's a woman now, but she was a kid having to do all of that. So Spencer comes home, and Jada wakes up, and he's smiling, and she tells him he misses her. She says she misses him too. They do the whole nice love making thing, and he told her he had met his biological mother, and she's like, what was that like? And he's like, I will tell you all about it later. And then they have their little session. Afterwards, he tells her everything that happened, and he seems kind of mystified and with disbelief. He actually met his mother, but she's super happy for him. He asked her what was wrong with her at breakfast that morning because he had noticed that she was off. And he told her, I noticed everything. I want to know how you feel. So she did admit to him that she did feel jealous of Holly and told him why. And he, of course, was like, you shouldn't feel that way. He was like, maybe you need to speak with Mita when we get back to New York. And she's like, you know what? I might take you up on that. Now, me personally, I think they need a separate therapist. Um, because she is going to be biased to what she knows about Spencer. So I think she does need a therapist. But I think she needs a separate one. But anyway, she agreed to that because she realizes, a lot's going on and a lot of things need to be processed, and she's not sure how to do it. So she does agree um, to go and talk to Mita when they get back to New York. She gets a phone call the next morning, and they had talked a lot, about, taking the trips that they taken in their lives, the ones that they liked, things like that. And, they were like, we'll do that type of stuff with our friends again in the future, to go on trips. So then she gets a call from Hope, and Hope's like, "Are you free tomorrow? We're getting married in Vegas. We're gonna elope." And she's like, "I will be there." So he's looking, and he's like, "Where are you gonna be?" And she says, "Perry and Hope are getting married tomorrow in Vegas." And he says, "Yep, we'll be there." Hope hears him. She says, "I'll relay the message to Perry. See you guys tomorrow." So then they're about to start effing, and then they go down. They hear a voice coming from downstairs. It's Jasper saying, "Let's enjoy a proper meal before we go back to New York." Um, but they still wind up fucking because it is what it is. So they finally make it downstairs. Baby Jane, of course, is so happy. She's trying to say Jada, but she says Jaja. It's so cute. And Holly's like, "Oh, she said your name, like that is so adorable." And in that moment, Jada loves Holly. So they're talking about everything. Holly's doing this exclusive about what was found in the storage, and all that evidence. I also forgot to mention they've released the video that to the public that shows Arthur dressed up like a baby in these photos. So yeah, he's got some type of fetishes when it comes to young. Yeah, there's something. Yeah, he's got a fetish for sure. So they leaked that to make sure that got out, because again, they're trying to make sure off on every single angle. They're making sure that they put everything out so that his ass will be, you know, locked in, like stay in prison, like no getting out. Jimmy Lavelle, he shows up at their gate. And, at first Spencer's being all macho man's like, "I'll handle this." And Jada's like, "No, we ain't doing that." She's like, you know, "I'm the reason he's here. He's got some information he claims on my mom." She's like, "We can go together." She's like, "So you can put that whole Ken doll back in the box, you know?" And Holly was like, "I'm going to have to use that on Jasper's ass." So they go out, and we find out, actually, before they leave out, Jasper tells them that he had heard rumblings that Patricia, her ass, is wanting to run for president. Now, Jada's kind of like, 8 years of power, like, she wants her power to never end. But I'm kind of like, I don't know if you right on that, because once you're president, you're always called president. So I don't agree with Jada on that one. I'm like, that heifer wants it. So we'll see. So they get in a golf cart, go down to the front gate to meet Jimmy, and because they're not letting him on that property. He, of course, is pissed off when he sees Spencer. He's like, "I just wanted to see you, blah, blah, blah." All this bull crap. And then we really find out really what he wanted was Spencer's attention, because he winds up telling them that about he's like, "I got something about your mom." And Jada's like, "What, about her running for president? We already know that, blah blah blah." And he was like, "No, me and your mom have been fucking, and she was using me." And so he wants Spencer to clear his family's name from that list of people taking those illegal uh charitable donations from the adversaries. And he's like, "Patricia, she found a way to clear her name. I need to clear my family's name." And so Spencer's like, "Well, how do we know that you have proof?" He's like, "I can airdrop them to you." So he's got videos apparently on his phone. So Jada goes up to the house. She's like, "I'll go and get it." And sure enough, he got the shit of them fucking. And so he then sends an email afterwards saying, "I wish it could have been you instead of her." I'm like, ugh, come on. Like, ugh. But I feel like with the mom, that tracks, right? She wants to always be able to hold some over your head. So that would work too. She was trying to make her be with this guy because, or insinuate like this is the type of dude you want, because that she could say I've already had him. Like she could hold something over that girl. That mom is twisted as fuck. I'm sorry. So Jasper, Spencer, Holly, Jada, they're all looking at the video of her mama fucking Jimmy, right? And the mom during one of the sessions makes some comment like telling him like you're nothing but a hard cock and like a servant, like that type of shit. So she's got a real issue with power. She's a power trip bitch. That's all. So Jasper says, you know, basically he wants to take down Patricia. And Holly's like, we got, wait a minute, that's Jada's mom. That's still her mom. X, Y, and Z. Jada said she can fight her own battles. I don't have anything to do with that. She said, go after her. I don't care. So Jasper was like, all right, bet, it's done. Like he's going full war on this woman. I'm cool with it. You know, I really am. Because she's an awful person. She's horrible. And it's like you can't stop her. You have to annihilate somebody like that. You know what I mean? So if Jada decides not to talk to her mom again, that's on her. I wouldn't knock her. It did make her cry a little bit because it's kind of like she didn't cry at that moment, but like at night, sometimes it would kind of make her get to her because it's kind of like, what are you gonna do? You know, you're so used to running behind trying to get this affection from your mother. What are you going to do now that that's being taken? You're taking that off the table. You know, that's why, you know, her getting therapy is really essential because she really has to figure out how to deal with this stuff, how to process it. Because I'm afraid with her, the minute stuff gets too hard, she's got Spencer, she's got a good support system, but that's a mother. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, will she ever really be free from her? I don't know. I really don't know. Jada and Spencer go to Vegas. Jasper and Holly get ready to go back to New York with baby Jane. And on their trip to Vegas, it's shorter, but they still fuck the whole time. Um, she did have the thought that her mom hasn't come specifically for Spencer yet, but if his family's gonna come after them, she realized, you know, the network BCN that she's always watching, that's actually owned by the Blackstones. So she winds up telling him about that tape that Jimmy Lavelle had shown her and her mom on that trip to DC. And, you know, the video with the woman Gina. And he was like, but that was when we were both unwell. It was consensual. And she says that doesn't matter because my mother has a way of, uh, you know, spinning things to her own satisfaction. So she tells him, you need to hire me as your PR person. And he says, done. She's like, just like that. No interview, no nothing. He says, you've been interviewing for this job since I met you. So they get to Las Vegas. They take a car with some paparazzi spotted. So a lot of bullshit going on. And some things have happened in the past 24 hours. So, authors in jail, no bail. Story broke about Charlotte and Irina. Their story is out. This is what Holly was working on. So it's been a media frenzy. Okay? So they took a regular car, which she was kind of like, you're going to take a regular car? He's like, of course, you know. But, you know, everything he's been doing has been like ultra luxe, you know what I'm saying? So it was kind of weird for her to see him in something regular. So anyway, they go, and the wedding for Perry and Hope is supposed to be the following day. And so he told her, we're going to stay outside of Las Vegas. And she's like, okay. So they have to take a helicopter. And when they land, because different times he would be on the phone and being all secretive and shit. And she was like, what? You know, it started to get to her a little bit, but she chilled. She chilled out. She heard him talk to his mom. And she was like, just, she's going to chill. He'll tell her whenever he's ready. Well, when they land, this is all a surprise engagement wedding shindig going down. So he had a display of rings for her, and he had everyone there. Hope, Perry, Jasper, Holly, everyone was there. And she, of course, chose this like really simple band when he asked her to marry him and stuff like that. And he was like, I told you I was going to do it right the next time. And it was absolutely beautiful. So Hope and Perry are not getting married tomorrow. This was all a ruse to get them there. So that was super sweet. And it was just a really special moment. And his mom was there as well. So he introduced her to his mom. So yeah, it was super sweet. So the guys take Spencer and the girls take Jada. They go to this beautiful, gorgeous room, beautiful gowns, beautiful gowns. She, of course, goes with like this simple spaghetti strap, but it makes her cleavage looks absolutely delicious. And Hope does ask her, like, how do you feel about your mother not being here? And she said it's sad. But she says, but what I would have preferred, I wish my dad could have been here. And then Hope has this look on her face like she's keeping a secret. And she's like, he's here. And so she's like, come with me. So she goes. And then right at the end of the hall, she sees her dad and she just runs straight into his arms. It's so sweet. So maybe he ain't that bad. So she gets ready, and one by one they leave out in helicopters, and Red Rock Canyon is the location of the wedding. Beautiful canopy, beautiful setup. She sees Spencer. She's so excited. She is about to become Jada freaking Blackstone. It's wonderful. So we fast forward 23 hours. They've been fucking nonstop. Um, the phone rings. It's Jasper. Jasper's like, turn on the TV. They turn it on. Sure enough, Patricia has gotten the people on, she's in DC, and she said that, news, of course, has broken out that her daughters got married. And so she, of course, has a statement about it. And she says that Spencer has brainwashed her daughter, and he's falsified her name on that list of illegal donations, and he'll do anything to try and destroy her. And so Spencer looks at that screen with such this glare. So when Jada looks at him and says, will you run now? And he just says one word, yes. And I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. And that's how it ends. So I thought the next book was like, it's a bonus book, but clearly we got to review it, because I need to know if he takes this woman down. And what else? Because she still hasn't met her brother. So that still hasn't happened. And I'm sure there's a few other things that haven't occurred. So we're going to get into the final book of the series, which is called Exposed. And we're going to get into that next week. What did you all think? I liked it. I was super glad that we didn't have to go too long with Spencer getting to her in the beginning. I was kind of concerned with that. I like when they're together, stuff pops off. I do kind of want to see if there's a little bit more we can get from the mom, maybe about Irina. Just a little bit more information about the family, because they're very interesting. They really are. And I'm glad that she does have a really solid friend group. I feel like Hope, you honestly, if you got Hope, you don't need nobody else as your friend. She is a ride or die. She tells you the truth and she's there for you no matter what. She's a great friend. So to me, the fact that she has Hope and now she has Spencer, who honestly I think will probably lay down his life for her, I think she's solid. I think she's got a good enough uh, support system that if she falls, they got her. Cause I feel like she's gonna fall. Especially with that mother. I don't know if we'll see a redemption arc in the next book with the mother. I don't know if I want to see a redemption arc with the mother. I really don't. I think maybe we need to leave her as pure evil. What do you guys think? Let me know. Drop down in the comment section and let me know. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available, and the links are available down below in the description section. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.